Oh, I didn't expect company tonight. No, please stay comfortable. That sandstorm will last most of the night. Have something to drink and eat. What shall we do to pass the time? Tell a story? I suppose I could. I do know enough of them. But what are you in the mood for? A good ghost story? No? What about adventure? Or a story of terrible vengeance? Or a curse that... No? I know. You want to hear about Pasha and Ayuk, a story of forbidden love and two young hearts who would risk everything to be together. Very well, I shall tell the story. Stoke that fire and listen, for our story begins in fire itself. Pasha sighed as she thought, here comes another day. She smelled the fire from the torches. When would it be over? Every week she was forced to participate in the fire dance in front of their evil King Zeverick. He makes everything go his way. We are all forced to dance, forced to stay here, forced to do anything. We have to do anything he says or else. While Pasha was still grumbling to herself, her complaints were stopped short by her name being yelled. She looked around her and spotted the performers standing on the stage. The fire dance had started. She ran up to the performing floor. When she didn't hear the music start, she looked around to find that all eyes were staring in fear at the throne. When she looked up to the throne, she saw that the king was glaring at her. "Pasha, why are you late?" King Zeverick asked, fuming. Pasha, now scared of how late she actually was, stuttered, I was doing my hair, King Zeverick." "And why wasn't it done sooner?" Suddenly, a voice she didn't recognize cut her off from the midst of the performers. "She was helping me, my lord." Pasha looked over, confused to see that the voice she heard came from Ayuk, the handsome young man and another of the performers, one that she had been admiring from afar. Why would someone who had nothing to do with her punishment stand up for her in front of the king? "What could you possibly need help with, Ayuk?" asked the king. "Because you, of all people, should know the law. No interaction with other slaves." As Zeverick said the word slaves, his gaze swept over the performers with disdain. "My apologies, Your Highness. I was looking for my flint and pyrite, but couldn't find them, so I asked Pasha if I could borrow hers." Fine. I suppose you would need those." The king replied, wondering if it were true, but his tone shifted as he continued, "But if this ever happens a second time, you will never again continue in the fire dance, or anything else. Do you understand?" As the words left King Zeverick's mouth, Pasha noticed the look of discomfort highlighting Queen Elithra's beautiful face. Queen Elithra was also forced to do something. The hardest thing. She was forced to marry King Zeverick. Yes, sire. Ayuk bowed his head to the king. Well, what are you waiting for? Start the dance now, King Zevrik commanded, smirking in a way that suggested he was hoping that another mistake would happen, that he would be able to hurt someone. After the hour-long dance, the performers filed their way backstage. Pasha decided that the only way to show her appreciation was to place herself behind Ayuk. Her heart ached to stare into those deep, beautiful green eyes and tell him how thankful she was. But she couldn't risk them getting punished, or worse. So she decided to gently whisper in his ear, "Thanks." Pasha saw Ayuk nod lightly, and she silently prayed that the two of them didn't draw any attention to themselves. The next couple of nights, Pasha continued to wonder why Ayuk would stand up for her. I mean, he has been serving the king the longest. Why would he risk his life for little old useless me? If anything, he is probably the only one who has a chance of getting a good job later in his life. Pasha's eyes shot open. What if... No, it couldn't possibly be because of that. A smile slowly spread across her face. Does Ayuk love me? She whispered. Over the next few weeks, she found herself thinking about his beautiful green eyes, his short and slightly curly dark brown hair, and most of all, how he had chosen to save her. The next week, she noticed that her gaze kept lingering on Ayuk, and how he also looked at her every once in a while. She couldn't stop thinking about him, and that's when she realized, I love him too. But what chance would either of them have together? It's not as if they could talk to each other, especially not about how they felt. Then it struck her. What if we did meet together, hidden, alone, just the two of us? But where? When? How? That next week, Pasha tried to figure out how she could not only sneak away with Ayuk, but also how to tell him that she had a plan. She couldn't write a note because she had never learned how to write or spell. She couldn't talk to him directly. She had already risked a lot to say thank you. She had to figure out something, but what? Unable to think of a way to explain to Ayuk that she loved him, Pasha decided to wait until the next fire performance to come up with a plan. The dance started off like any other. Another performer, Lyra, started the dance front and center, doing the most extreme flips, twirls, and everything in between. Then Maroke, the youngest and newest of the male performers, did his fire-blowing routine on the right side of the stage. Then, when it came to the end of the dance, Pasha performed her part on the left side. After the dance, all of the performers walked backstage, single file. Then Pasha heard someone's voice, a quiet whisper. Meet me in the practice room tonight. Not knowing who said that, she carefully peeked behind her to see Ayuk giving her a slight smile. She quickly turned her head back and faced forward, smiling to know that she wasn't the only one, trying to find a way for them to meet together, alone, just the two of them. Pasha was so ecstatic that she almost lost track of time. Thankfully, though, when her dinner was placed at her door, she remembered. She always got her dinner around 7:30. It wasn't much, but it was just enough to keep her alive. Tonight her plate held a bit of mashed potatoes and 2 leaves of lettuce. But as soon as she finished it, she stood up and put on her darkest clothes, which were just a couple of dark brown rags. She peeked out her door to see if there were any guards coming through, and when she was sure that no one was around, she started to sneak towards the practice room. It was helpful that it was only 5 doors from her small empty room, but there was still the risk of a guard walking by and Pasha getting caught. Thankfully, though, she was not seen or heard. When she made it to the practice room, she saw Ayuk sitting against the wall waiting for her. When Ayuk saw Pasha, his face lit up, and he jumped to his feet and rushed over to her. "You made it, and no one caught you," Ayuk said with so much excitement, but still quiet enough that no one would hear them. Pasha chuckled. "Yeah, I guess I did." Then she realized that this would be the perfect time to show Ayuk her thanks for saving her. "Oh, I wasn't able to Suddenly, Ayuk cut her off. "Wait," he paused. "I think I hear someone. Follow me." Ayuk then grabbed Pasha's wrist and started leading her towards the back of the room. He started feeling along the wall, muttering to himself urgently, "Where is it? Come on, come on." All of a sudden, his hand slipped into a crevice in the stone wall. Then he pushed his hand in, twisted it, and pulled. Instantly, a hidden passageway opened, and Ayuk pulled Pasha through the entrance and told her to stay silent. She pushed herself up against the wall of the dark passageway and waited, listening for whatever Ayuk heard. Then she heard it. A guard, and he was about to open the door to the fire dance practicing room. The passageway was so dark that she couldn't even see her own hand in front of her face, and she was just depending on her other senses to know what was going on around her. It was humid. She could smell dust. The walls were warm, and all she could hear was the closing of the hidden door and the opening of the training room door. She didn't know how difficult it was to close the secret passageway door, but it was feeling like he should be finished. "Is he okay? Does he need my help? Should I do something?" As she opened her mouth, she let out a quiet breath, about to ask Ayuk if he wanted her to help with anything. Then she felt his hand rest on her mouth, silently telling her, "Wait just a couple more seconds." Pasha waited. Then after about a minute, she heard the guard leave the practicing room. Both Ayuk and Pasha sighed a breath of relief. "Are you okay?" Ayuk asked quietly. She nodded, then remembered that they were still in the dark, so she said, "Yes, thank you." Ayuk sighed again. "Good. We have to go somewhere that we won't get caught. Follow me." Pasha heard his footsteps as he walked deeper into the passageway. Becoming scared and not being able to see where he was walking, she quietly stopped him. "Wait, Ayuk, where are you going?" She then heard his footsteps again. "That's right. Sorry about that. I forgot that this was your first time in here. I'm down here quite often. I was the only person who knew about these tunnels, but now I'm not." Butterflies shot through Pasha as she felt her hand being held by Ayuk's. His hands were rough and calloused from all the years of fire dances, but despite the toughness of his hands, he had the most gentle touch she had ever felt. As he led her through the passageway, she tripped on small rocks and stones coming out of the ground, but every time she fell, Ayuk caught her. The passageway continued for about 5 minutes, but being with Ayuk made it worth it. She never would have thought that she could do this, but being with Ayuk made her feel like she could do anything. Lost in thought again, she didn't notice that Ayuk had stopped. She bumped into and fell on top of him. "Whoa, are you okay?" he asked. Oh, yeah, sorry about that," Pasha responded, glad that Ayuk couldn't see her blushing in the darkness. "Here, let me help you up," Ayuk said as he helped Pasha stand back up. She felt a cold come in through one of the walls beside them, not having any experience with being or hearing anything about the world outside the palace. It felt like the breath of a giant coming through the cracks in the wall. She immediately looked to the right. What was that? "What was what?" he asked. "The large breath. It came out of the cracks in this wall." "Oh, that was just the wind. We made it to the end of the tunnel, so the wind tends to blow through here." "The wind? What's that?" Ayuk responded, "Come on, let me show you." Pasha then heard Ayuk working to open another secret door in the wall. When he finished completely opening the hidden door, Pasha saw the sky for the first time in her life. She was awestruck. She had never seen anything as beautiful as what she was seeing then. The sky was a beautiful deep blue. The stars were shining brighter than any flame she had ever performed with. And the moon. The moon was the most incredible masterpiece ever created. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she heard Ayuk say from beside her. All she could say was, "I've never seen anything like it." "Just wait, it gets even better. Want to see more?" He looked over at Pasha. She looked back at him as the moon cast a glow on his face. He was smiling at her. She nodded. "Yes, show me all of it, please." After that wonderful night with Ayuk, she never stopped thinking about the deep blue sky and Ayuk's deep green eyes. From then on, she met Ayuk outside the palace walls weekly, and they grew to love each other deeply. She knew all about Ayuk, and Ayuk knew all about Pasha. They were never caught, and eventually found a way to live a life of their own, outside of the palace walls, together.